So here we go. I believe I am live with Trooper Wright. Go ahead and tell me in the comments if you can hear me, how it sounds. Might be dealing with some internet difficulties today, but that is how it goes. So go ahead and tell us in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Substack, whatever you're on, whether we're live, whether you can see us well, and anything else like that. Got Trooper Wright here with me. Trooper Wright, one of my longtime friends, one of my oldest friends, not oldest as in age because that's Jonathan Hatley, but one of my friends since I was 5 years old at Community Baptist. So we go way back, and I'm so happy to see what you're doing right now with your life, Trooper.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
yes, sir. And so Trooper Wright played football for Morehead last year, and then tragically lost his arm in an ATV accident, and he is coming back to play this year, which is just kind of crazy to be honest. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So we're going to get your thoughts on this, Trooper, and just kind of bounce some things off of each other. If you have anything to say in the comments, go ahead and tell us what you're thinking there. If you have any questions for Trooper, we will. I'll ask him those. If you just go ahead and drop those in the comments, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to RoCo Radio's YouTube page, follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to our Substack. So, Trooper, how's your summer gone so far?
Man, it's been great. We had a 7-on-7 yesterday, and that went well. And just been a lot of football. That was what I was looking forward to getting back to, and just being back out on the field with the guys again. And, they don't treat me any different, and I don't feel any different out on the field. I just can go out and play off of ability, and just know that I'm out there for a greater purpose than myself. And I just have a bunch of guys out there with me, and we're working towards one common goal. And we've made a lot of leaps and bounds since spring ball. We looked really solid yesterday in the 7-on-7, so I'm excited to see where we go.
So, I didn't want to bring the video out, but I think I'm going to have to since you went ahead and brought up spring ball. So, we're going to go ahead and play the video of what you did yesterday. It was incredible. So, here we go. All right, so you told me that wasn't your first interception. That was your third one. And
Right.
my favorite part of that video is you can see everybody's hand. If you're watching this, you can replay it. Everybody's hands go to their head like synchronized. They are so upset. So go ahead and bring me into that. What happened there?
Yes, sir. So, our team and their team was chirping a little bit, just having some good competition, and they just kept trying my side a lot. I think they just felt that, with having one arm, I couldn't go up and make a play on the ball or have success there, but I think I shut them up pretty quickly, especially with the third interception. So, as a team, we got a lot of takeaways, and we did super well defensively on the defensive side of the ball. But, yeah, just we were in man coverage, and he kind of beat me on the out route a little bit. I recovered, and he ended up running a double move, went vertical down the sideline, and I got my head turned around and saw the ball, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go get it. I went up there and made a play. So,
Will you be playing defense and offense this year?
yes, sir. I'll be playing running back and safety.
Okay, okay. Do you think this may come into play in a real game? Somebody kind of underestimates you because you've just got one arm, and then they throw it your way, and they don't know. You can do it with one
Yeah.
hand, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely going to happen. I'm excited to prove doubts wrong and show that, I'm just as good with one arm. I think I can truly go out and do every single thing that somebody with two arms can do. And I'm just excited to show that.
Do you think there's any advantages to not having that arm? I mean, maybe somebody can't drag you down by that arm
Right.
or something like that?
Yeah, I think offensively there is. I can kind of slip off a tackle a little bit, especially if they're just trying to arm tackle and grab one of my arms. It's kind of hard to do that with, I guess, just the amount of arm that I have. So I think offensively I'll be able to break a lot of more tackles this year than I did last year.
So let's get into your history of playing sports. I remember you've always been extremely athletic. So tell us about your journey toward not playing football specifically. We'll get into that, but just sports in general. How long have you been playing?
Right. Yeah. I've been playing sports for as long as I can remember. Since I've been little, I've always had a ball in my hand, and it started with basketball, and then got into baseball, and basketball has always been my main love. I truly just love going out there and hooping with the boys. So I've always loved that and played baseball for a while. And then going to Morehead is when I got into football.
So you started playing football in ninth grade?
Yes, sir. Yep, ninth grade.
It seems like a lot of people start football later on. So how was it in your first year, just starting football? Kind of some of the things that you picked up.
Yes, sir. I mean, it was definitely different and something I had to adapt to. A sport that I'd never played, but I think just on athletic ability alone, I was able to have success still. But yeah, I just picked up on a few different things and just kind of concepts of the game. It was really just a lot of learning about football. But yeah, it was definitely different. I kind of wish I would have started earlier. But I'm excited that now I'm at Morehead and I was able to start when I did.
So would you say like the hardest thing about starting football is kind of learning all of the different things that you've got to know?
For sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think football is one of those sports where if you're an athlete, you can go play it. But the biggest thing is definitely just learning a lot of schemes offensively and defensively and different things that you're looking for.
It's a kind of an IQ thing as
For
opposed
sure.
to, and you got to be not necessarily an IQ thing as in you have to be, just God given smart, but you've got to be willing to be in the classroom, learning your assignments.
No doubt. No doubt. I think you can't do one without the other. You got to be successful at both to have success in both of them. So.
So let's talk a little bit about the injury. I know you've talked about it a lot, countless times, because I mean it's very very unique situation. And so go ahead if somebody hasn't heard it yet, just kind of tell that story.
Yeah, for sure. November 11th, it was Veterans Day, and we were preparing our first day of practice for our first playoff game against Shelby High School. And that it's always a walkthrough day for us on Monday. So a couple of my buddies and I, we just had a lot of energy after practice, and we went out and hung out at Walmart for a little bit, and decided to go home and ride the side by side around the farm that I live on. And we had the side by side for a few months before my accident, so it was very new and it didn't have any doors on it, and I would never buckle my seatbelt, and I just kind of was doing. I was just going a little too fast on it, I would say. And then, my friends, it was me, Brock Blizzard, and Marquise Barber. They also play on the football team. Those are my guys. But we were on there, we were driving, and we were actually bringing it back home. And I turned it around and was going to take them through the main pasture that I was in. And that's kind of where we just went a little too fast, and the tires got churned with the rocks, and we ended up drifting. And finally, the side by side tipped over, and it landed on my arm, and just mangled it in a way that a limb shouldn't be. And it's definitely a miracle that it was just an arm injury rather than, any other type of injury, a full body injury. I mean, you have a 2,000-pound vehicle coming on you, and I only went away with an arm injury. So that was a huge lesson. But as that was happening, I just kind of laid on the ground and I saw my arm, and my initial thought was that I was going to lose it. And that's kind of where Brock came in and we talked, and he ran to my house and got a shirt and put it on over my arm. And him and my dad were just standing there and talking to me and trying to keep me optimistic about what the next step was going to be. And just, honestly, just trying to calm me down during that time. And then EMS got there and they started operating on me, and they finally made a group decision to life flight me to Wake Forest Baptist, where I would undergo emergency surgery. And from there, that's kind of where I lost my arm, and they tried to save it, but they just couldn't get any blood flow back to it. So that ultimately is the reason why I survived that day, was I didn't have excessive blood loss. But that is also why I lost the lower half of my left arm. So, even when it seemed like God wasn't protecting me, he truly was. And he decided that my story wasn't over yet. And from there, I stayed in the hospital from Monday to Friday, came home, and it was just a very tough time mentally and spiritually, where I had a lot of questions about my faith and also about myself. And then starting therapy and figuring everything out and how to operate with one arm. After about 3 weeks to a month of recovery, it was super quick, but that's where I made my return to the field and just started getting after it again.
So spiritually, how did you recover from that? Not only learning how to do things with one arm, but like mentally, emotionally, how did you come back from that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was the community that I was in. I can't thank not only Eden but Rockingham County enough for the support that they've given me and my family and helping us out with needs and and also just being there and encouraging us during a hard time. That's what kept my spirits high, and kept me optimistic about, my life isn't over yet, and I can still have an impact on people's lives and still do great things with one arm. And spiritually, I mean, I just felt like God wasn't protecting me, because on the ground, when I knew I was probably going to lose my arm, I believed that Jesus could do anything, and so I kept proclaiming that. I knew He was with me. I know He was protecting me, and I believed that He was going to save my arm. And ultimately, it didn't end up happening. And so from there, that's kind of where I had my questions of, God, why didn't you protect me, and why me? Why did this have to happen to me? And it took a while for me to get those answers, but the why me question ended up eventually turning into why not me, where I learned to embrace the adversity that I was under, and looked at it as a privilege, because there were other people benefiting from my story, and also it sharpened me across the board. So I'm very thankful for what ended up happening to me, because it gives me this opportunity right now, but it's also given me opportunities to help out other people and inspire them that, no matter what you're going through, there's always a way out, and God can get you through whatever.
You've definitely taken advantage of the opportunity to kind of spread the gospel. A lot of people are hurting, going through things, maybe not as bad as yours, but and you've been able to show some encouragement, some inspiration. So, how did you? I went to one of your speaking engagements at a church, and I mean, you do fantastic. How did you get into that? How did that start?
Yeah, yeah. So I spoke a few times at FCA at my school before my accident, and then after my accident, my mom works at Western Rockingham Middle School, and they thought, I could come in and tell my story to the sixth graders, and then from there it got posted on Facebook and on Instagram, and that's kind of where I started going to speak at different places. And honestly, I wasn't super comfortable with it until here lately, where I kind of viewed it as, it's not a huge thing about myself, but I'm just telling people what God did in my life, and He wants to do the same thing through them. That's been great, and it's definitely having that perspective of it has helped me not be as anxious and worried about it.
How many different events do you think you've done?
Probably close to 20 now.
And do you enjoy them now? Do you still get super nervous? What happens there?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it, and there's still some butterflies sometimes, but it's definitely not as bad as it was. I don't get too nervous, just because, like I said, my perspective now is, I'm really just telling people what God did through me, and it's nothing special that I'm truly doing, but God wants to do the same thing that He did through me to other people, and the same hope that He's given me, He wants to offer them.
So going back to, let's talk about how you decided that you were going to play. So I went to the hospital a couple days after your injury, and your dad was saying that you wanted to play, but he was also thinking like, well, you're half out of it. You just went through a crazy emotional experience. You were in the hospital bed. You had operations going on, things
Yes,
like
sir.
that. So we thought that you were going to play, but then after that, did you always think that you were going to play, or was there kind of a dip where you were questioning, am I still going to play football, or am I going to call it quits on the football career, and focus on something else? What happened there?
Yes, sir. I think, when I got home and did my first interview on the news, I said that I would like to be on the field with my friends again, but you could tell by the way that I said it, I wasn't super confident in it. And so for the first probably for the first month, I was very unsure of whether or not I was going to play. I just felt like I couldn't get back to a level where I could have success with one arm. And I also had never seen anybody with my type of injury come back from it and have success on the field. So I saw a few different stories of people with limb differences going out and still being impactful on the field and having success. And a huge inspiration for me also has been Parker Bird, ECU, and just seeing, how he lost his leg in a boating accident, but how he was able to recover from that. And, he's still killing it on the field as a Division I baseball player. So there was definitely doubts at first of whether or not I could do it. And to tell you the truth, I believed that I couldn't. But a huge change for me was one of my dad's friends came to see me, and he just told me, why not you? Don't give up on it yet. So that was kind of a perspective change for me. And after about the first month, I was ready to, just get back on the field and not view myself as having any limitations. I believe that I don't have any, and I can do the same thing that anybody else with two arms has, and I want to prove that to people.
Did you get to meet with any of these players that have had the limb differences, and
Yes,
did those
yes,
inspire you?
for sure, no doubt. Yeah, they're huge inspirations to me. Just seeing people who look like me, being able to do what they do, has been very motivating for me to keep going and keep pushing and be that next person to do it. So I got to meet with the Southern Illinois running back. His name's Caleb Wagner. And then I got to meet with the Northwestern running back. His name's Albert Kanikas. And then I got to meet Parker Bird about a month or two ago, and see what he does on the field. So I can't thank those guys enough. We're still in contact and we still talk a lot, but I can't thank them enough for the impact and the motivation that they've given me.
That's incredible. So you say inspiration of some of these players who have had been willing and gracious enough to talk to you about it. The quote from your dad's friend, "Why not you?" And you said that you were kind of scared about your confidence going into this if you would be able to return to the same player. Have you been surprised at how well you've performed in these 7-on-7s in these practices with just one arm?
Not really. I knew it was coming, and I trusted in the work that I was doing. Since I got out the hospital and was being able to be on the field. I mean, you can ask my teammates too, who saw me on the field. I was grinding every single day, and just getting comfortable with catching the ball and taking handoffs and going up and intercepting the ball. So I knew that the success was coming. And honestly, I feel like I'm a better football player than what I was with two arms. The game is just a lot more personal to me now, because it was almost took away from me forever. And that shows you how much you truly love it. And definitely when I'm playing, I just have in the back of my mind the thoughts and everything that I had while I was in the hospital bed and stuff like that. So I'm really not surprised by the success I've had so far.
Wow, wow. So, game one is about 2 months away, give or take a few days.
Yes,
How
sir.
excited are you for that opportunity to not prove it in these 7-on-7s, not in these practices, not in the weight room, but to actually be able to go out there and perform?
Man, I can't wait. It can't get here soon enough. I think that people are very happy and are proud of the way that I've been able to recover and what I've been able to do in the weight room and in on 7-on-7, and different things. But I know that there are still doubts of what I can do when I'm fully suited up and when we go against 11-on-11. I know that there are some doubts still, and I mean, I think it's August 22nd is the first
Yes,
game.
sir. Yep.
It can't get here soon enough. I'm super excited.
All right, and lastly, what would you say your goal is for the fall of 2025 when it comes to football? I'm not talking about the team of Morehead because obviously that's win as much as you can, but I'm saying you personally, if there's something in your game potentially that you feel that you could develop, or just something about yourself when it comes to football that you want to work on, what would that be?
Yes, sir. I definitely just want to improve as a whole athlete. Be the best at running back, be the best at safety, be the best in the conference. I still want, ultimately, I want my story to be resiliency, and showing that, no matter what you go through, that you can still make it through. Through God, all things are possible. So I want people to see my story and think of resiliency and just be inspired by that. But I want to have a lot of success this year and just show that, especially to colleges, that I'm the same player as somebody with two arms. I can do every single thing.
All right, that's Trooper Wright, the Beast, Trooper Wright. Your story is an inspiration to many. Rockingham County, not just Morehead, is Rockingham County as a whole is very proud of you, and just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me here on RoCo Radio.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening in, YouTube, Facebook, or Substack. Subscribe to YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to our Substack if you want to hear more interviews like this over the summer. Thank you so much.